Hi everybody, so today I've got a foundation review and this one is an exciting one because Tom Ford has just launched the Architecture Foundation in the Radiance range. I love the Architecture matte. I know not everyone got on with it, but I loved that one. And this is now the Radiance version. And I believe this is going to replace the shade and Illuminate. I haven't actually read that, but I'm guessing because if you go on the Tom Ford website, nearly all of the shades are sold out bar a few. So I'm guessing this is going to be the new one. So what I'm going to do today, I've actually got my shade and Illuminate. So I'm going to compare them both side by side and do a full wear test. So you can see how both sides look and see how they wear. So maybe you can make a decision on whether or not to get this new one if you're a fan maybe of that sort of finish, and if you're a fan of the glowy radiant foundations which seem to be so popular this year, and I personally have been loving them. So I can't wait to add this into my collection and see how it compares to the ones I've been enjoying so far. And if you're new here, hi, my name is Hannah, I'm 48, I'm not a professional, I'm just somebody who really loves makeup and beauty, and here on my channel I show you the latest releases, my favourite looks, and give you any beauty news you might be interested in. If you think you'd enjoy that content, I would love it ever so much if you did hit the subscribe button. Lots of people tune in without subscribing, so if you could, it would be so very, very helpful to me, it really would. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. And my skin tone, I've got fair to light skin with predominantly cool undertones that lean a tiny bit neutral. And I've also got blue eyes. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's dive straight into this review. I just wanted to talk to you about something completely off topic, but I had to put it into a video somewhere and I really wanted to show you this. So this is, do you suffer from migraines? Because I'm in perimenopause and I get really bad migraines, much worse than I used to, so much so they keep me awake at night. If not a migraine, then pressure headaches generally, especially around the temple areas. Anyway, I have found something that is fantastic for this, so I had to show it to you, and I'm very delighted to say that Bob and Brad are sponsoring this section of the video and have kindly gifted this device to me, so thank you so much to Bob and Brad. I have actually showed you one of their other devices before, which was for back pain, another fabulous device. I am a little bit of a device junkie, I have to admit. I have got an absolute ton of devices and I'm always trying them. If you saw my living room, I'm just surrounded by devices. I've got them all behind my sofa and I just get them out for my feet, for my back, for my neck, and now for my migraines. So this one, it doesn't go in my living room. This one I keep in my bedroom because I use this one when I've got a migraine, especially one that's keeping me awake at night or I can't relax and get to sleep. And this one has really helped me. So what I'll do is take you straight to a demonstration of me using this one and you can see exactly what it does. So here's that demonstration. So here is the mask on my head, just showing you before I place it over my eyes, and you can set this and control it with a remote control or with the buttons here. Straight away it comes on, it tells you it's on, you can hear because you've got speakers built in. And it's saying air pressure and heat, which was the last setting I used, and I'm getting pressure going straight into my eyes with warmth, and then it comes out here into my temples and just very gradually, slowly pushes in and then eases off, and the feeling of releasing tension is incredible. This is my favourite setting. You can just use the remote to change the mode. Air pressure only. Now it's on air pressure only. Heat only. Now heat only. Heat plus music. Now heat plus music. And it's playing relaxing music. Now there's nothing going over my ears, but you really detect the music as though it's going over your ears. It's quite bizarre actually, but it really works. Air pressure plus heat plus music. Now I'm on air pressure plus heat plus music with the next setting. That is all of the different settings. So with this button you can change the pressure. So you can have moderate, strong pressure, strong, no pressure, or no pressure. And this one here is your volume button. You can switch it off, have it low, medium, or maximum. And then this one adjusts the heat. So you can have it on high, no temperature, low heat. So I've got it back now on air pressure plus heat, which is my favourite setting, and I want to take it down to increase the pressure. got it on strong pressure. That's my preference, and this is how I will just lie in bed at night, and this will give me the ultimate relaxation. I find myself actually falling asleep with the mask on, which isn't great because when you turn it's not the best. That does happen to me sometimes because that is how relaxing this is. I don't use it during the day because I've usually got makeup on and I wouldn't want to push the makeup into my eyes, so that's why I like to do it in the evening. But if I wanted to, I could just wash my makeup off and use it anytime. It's got everything you could possibly need and it's just so good. I love putting it on. I mean, obviously I don't love having a migraine, but I love just lying in bed, putting it on and just relaxing and just listening to the calm music. It's amazing how many times I've just fallen asleep with it on, whereas if I didn't, I could be awake sometimes for hours because the pain of the migraine is keeping me awake. Then I get stressed thinking I won't sleep, and I'm sure you know the pattern, it just keeps you awake. So when I've tried this, I've been amazed how I've actually gone to sleep, and it's really helped, and it really does help with the pressure, and it's lovely. Honestly, the relief. I'm not going to say it cures migraines because I'm sure if you've got severe migraine issues you need something from your GP or something, but it really helps with mine. It certainly helps me get to sleep, and then I can wake up with it gone, which is the main thing for me. So I mean, even if you just want a massage, you don't have to have this because you've got a migraine. You can have this because you just want that facial sort of massage in the temple area, and then you can drift off to sleep. So it's good for both purposes really, however you want to use it. You could take it when you travel, you could take it, you could use it in the living room. I mean, I would not recommend doing it when you've got your makeup on, so I definitely recommend doing it when you've got a clean face because you wouldn't want to push products into your eyes and things. But on the whole, you can use it anywhere, anytime. So it does actually come in this bag. I don't think I showed you that in that demo. So it's got this little travel bag, so it's very easy to pack up if you were going to take it away with you. And then both the mask and the remote control fit inside. So I'm absolutely loving this, and Bob and Brad have actually given me a discount code for both UK and US customers, and you buy this from Amazon, by the way. So I've put the links for this product below in my video description so you can see exactly how to buy them, but I'll also put the discount codes here on the screen now for the UK and for the US, so that will give you 10% off if you shop via those links on Amazon. But I've also put that below in the description, so if you want the link and the discount code, they're also there below in my video description. But yeah, thank you again to Bob and Brad for another fantastic device that I now quite literally never want to be without. It's lovely and it really helps me. I'm very impressed with it, honestly. Anyway, let's get back to the foundation review. So let's start by looking at the packaging of this new foundation. So here is a close-up of the packaging, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Really high-end and gorgeous. If we compare it to Shade and Illuminate, the only difference, which again suggests it's a replacement, is the Shade and Illuminate had that gold going around the edge. This one, and also the black on the side. This one is clear all the way around and it doesn't have the gold edge. So that's how you're going to tell these two apart. Another thing was the shade. I've always bought Porcelain, so I wanted to stick with Porcelain. This Shade and Illuminate I've got is in Porcelain, and I've got out my Architecture matte version, which is also in Porcelain. So I've gone for Porcelain again, but one thing worth noting is the shade number of Porcelain has changed. So you may find that the shade numbers are different when you order. So my Porcelain shade is 2.5C in the new Radiance architecture formula, but if I look at the number I've got on the Shade and Illuminate, Porcelain was 0.5, which could have been one of the lightest. I'm not entirely sure, I can't remember. And with the Architecture Matte, I got 0.5 Porcelain, so they were both 0.5 in both of the previous ones. So this one now is Porcelain, but it's 2.5. So if you look for 0.5 on their website, 0.5 is 0.5C is Pearl, and that one is for very fair. So I'm sticking with Porcelain because I am fair, but I don't usually go into the very fair category. But this does have a very good shade range, and I'm guessing from that might mean an increase in the shade ranges. So it's a very comprehensive shade range. I'll pop a picture up now, and there are 40 different shades. And One other thing now is the ingredients, because there's a huge price drop, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I've been trying to look into why is there such a big price drop, and some of the suggestions were they've stripped back some of the skincare in this, but looking at it, I don't think they have. I don't know if you know any more information than me, but what I will do is I'll pop a picture up now on the screen of the ingredients of Shade and Illuminate and this new Architecture Radiance, and I think it's probably best to pause and take a picture, or just pause and read it, rather than me putting it in small in the top corner, because otherwise it'll be too small. So what I'll do is I'll pop it on the screen for you now, and you can take a look at it, but pause obviously if you want to save it. Moving on to the price, this is $95 or £75, and when I bought Shade and Illuminate and when I bought the Architecture Matte, which launched last year, I paid double that amount for both. And looking on the prices now, Shade and Illuminate has not dropped in price, but what has really surprised me is the Architecture Matte has now come down to the same price, so they are both now £75, both this and the new one, and I can't see any reason why, other than they overpriced it the first time. And I looked into this again, I've been reading up on this, and I did see that when this happens, when a brand charges a really high amount and then they lower it, you can actually ask them for a refund, because if you originally bought the Tom Ford Architecture Matte for 135 or 140, whatever you paid for it, and now it's being sold at this hugely reduced price, you could ask for a refund. There's no guarantee you get one, but you could ask for one. So with that in mind, I wrote to Tom Ford and I asked, and I was told that no, there is no refund. So if you did buy Tom Ford Architecture Matte and you paid double the price that it currently is now, you can't get your money back apparently, which I don't think is very fair, I have to say, because why will we charge double when the price has now literally come down? This isn't a sale price, this isn't a slight reduction. They've halved the price, which is fantastic news if you're buying it now. Not such fantastic news if you invested in this one when it launched last year, and a little bit unfair on the consumer in my opinion. But anyway, I will shut up now. I'm a massive fan of Tom Ford. I just thought that that was a little bit unfair. But anyway, the good news is if you want to get the new Tom Ford Architecture in Radiance formula, we are not going to pay those astronomical fees. It's still a lot of money, but it's certainly a lot less. So £75, not quite double, but nearly double. So good news, eh? So like the Architecture Matte, this one is promising you full coverage, but with radiant finish. And it says it will be liquid light in a weightless serum-like formula, an exclusive blend of skincare actives, Queen of the Night, which is a soothing night blooming flower, niacinamide, hyaluronic acid and botanical oils, which help to protect and strengthen the skin. Dimensional light diffusing powders create a soft lit from within look. It also has SPF 50, which is the same as the previous Shade and Illuminate, and this protects from the sun and maintains all day sweat and humidity resistance, which is going to be tested today because it is 31 degrees here in Wales today with no air conditioning, so we will see how it holds up today. Skin is transformed and looks more radiant over time because of the skincare benefits. So you can get medium to full coverage with this, 24-hour wear, skincare infused foundation that creates seamless radiance at every angle, lighting the face to a cinematic perfection. So the benefits of this is the leaving your skin radiant and hydrated with a luminous finish, leaves your skin comfortable, smoother and hydrated. It's very lightweight on the skin. It applies smoothly and instantly blends into the skin, and it maintains a dewy plump look all day long, which we will also be testing today. And obviously we've got the SPF 50. It also says that it's fade resistant, it's colour true, non-creasing, non-settling, non-caking, non-poring. It evens your skin tone, so this is promising to really do everything here. Immediate and 24-hour radiance, immediate and 12-hour moisture, sweat and humidity resistant as we've seen, reduces your fine lines and wrinkles, which is more to do with the skincare over time, water resistant, oil control, we'll see if my oils come through, and it immediately minimises my pores and improves skin tone in 1 week. Again, that's because of the skincare. I already have a very good skincare routine, so I'm not expecting any improvements along those lines. So I think the only thing left to do now is just quickly do a shade comparison of the 3 Porcelain I've got. So if you want to see, have these shades changed, especially because the numbers have changed. And I'll do the pump on the inner section of my arm because that's probably the best way to see the true colour. So here is the new Porcelain in Architecture Radiance. If I just rub this in a bit. And here is Porcelain in the Architecture Matte. So you can definitely see a difference in the finish there with the matte and the radiant finish. Quite a difference there. It definitely feels a lot thicker as well, the matte. The shade looks pretty much the same. I do wonder a little bit if the Radiance one is slightly warmer though. And this is the Porcelain Shade and Illuminate. The new one does look a little bit more yellow and a little bit less cool to me, which is a bit of a concern. We'll see how they look on the face when I try them on side by side. And the Radiance, maybe the new one looks a bit more radiant actually. I'm slightly concerned about the yellowy tone there, but anyway, we shall find out when I put this on. So I've zoomed in a little bit more so you can see it a bit more as I apply it. I've got my usual primers on, which is the Maybelline Grippy Serum in the centre of my face, and then I've got the Tatcha Silk Canvas everywhere today because of this weather. If you want links for those, they are below, but those are my 2 top duos at the moment. They've been my absolute ride or die primers that have worked with everything and made things work very well for me this summer. So I'm going to start with Shade and Illuminate on this side, so I'll just give it a bit of a shake up. I haven't used this for a while, so I want to make sure it's really well mixed. I'll put 1 pump on the back of my hand. And that is how it's looking. You can see it's quite a runny formula, this one. I'm using today, by the way, my Delilah foundation brush, which I don't always show you, but it's one of my favourite foundation brushes. I love this. And if you do look in my description below, I might not have this actual brush linked. I can get that for you if you want me to, but I do have a 22% off code for Delilah. This brush is really good and it works well for this sort of formula. So I'm going to tap in now, Shade and Illuminate on this side of the face. So unlike most of the Radiant foundations that we've been seeing this year, in fact all of them, this one takes you to full coverage, which is quite unique. So all of the really good glowy foundations we've had this year, some of them say they go up to medium, but I found that they're all pretty much light or between light and medium. None of them have actually reached medium, whereas this one is medium to full. Although I have to say, when I'm looking for full coverage, which I really am these days, I would rather go with the matte. So I haven't really reached for this one. I've been going for the Architecture Matte when I want full coverage. And that is a foundation I struggled with a lot in the beginning to find a way to stop it caking. But basically in the summer, the primers I'm using now and the sponge application is how I make it work. And in the winter, it was using my Bobbi Brown Face Base as my primer. So I just need more hydration in the winter. And again, a sponge. And that was how I got the Architecture to work well on me. And it really does. In fact, I did a video recently where I added a glowy serum to it and turned it into this sort of foundation. So there's a tip for you if you've got that and you don't want to buy this new one. Because you can almost create your own version of this foundation by just doing that. So that is 1 pump. I'd say that's given me medium coverage at the moment, that 1 pump. It goes in very quickly and easily, blends out very, very easily. It's gone on top of those primers very nicely and it's sitting beautifully, really beautifully. I'm going to take another 1/2 pump on the back of my hand and just add it to the areas where I like a little bit more coverage. And this one's over a year old now and the perfume's fragrance is still quite strong. I'm going to add another, it's more like 1/4 pump actually. So 1/4 pump added to the cheek area and another 1/4 just going here. So I'm taking it more to full coverage now. And certainly when you're building, I would always tap, even though I try to tap only always these days. I find it works much better for the way the foundation sits and performs if you're not swiping over. I do sometimes, but with a foundation that's given you more coverage especially, I find patting gives me the best finish. So there is my one side of the face with Shade and Illuminate. And keep in mind I don't have any concealer on, so my eyes look pretty dreadful at the moment, but it does give you a very natural full coverage. It doesn't look like you're wearing too much makeup, and you've got all that skincare as well. Very comfortable, very natural, not heavy. It's a beautiful foundation, it really is. So if you're looking for lightweight, glowy and full coverage, it's a very good option. So let's see now if the new Architecture Radiance is going to do the same job. So I'll give this one a shake up as well. And we'll also see the shade difference. So this one is pouring down my hand a little bit, but not quite as fast. So it's not quite as much of a liquid formula. It's slightly thicker. And for this one, I'll use my Sonia G foundation brush, which is very similar to the Delilah, but this one obviously is natural, whereas the Delilah is synthetic. And I'll do exactly the same on this side, patting it in. It's not looking yellow on my face, so on my arm it looked a bit yellow. It actually looks a slightly more cool tone on me, I think, than this side. This side looks a bit warmer. That's interesting, because on my arm it didn't look like that at all. It looked like it was the other way around. Which I think the new one is a better shade match for me. This one's slightly too warm, Shade and Illuminate. The new one, perfect. So that's good news. It does tell you that these shades are not exactly the same. So I don't know if you'll find that if you've got a shade that you always get, like I always get Porcelain, you might find there's a slight difference. So if you're able to check this one in store and maybe ask for a sample, that's definitely what I would recommend you do. This one also has a perfume to it. It smells a little bit more perfumey than fresh than Shade and Illuminate, but that could be to do with age, because this is obviously brand new, so it's given me a stronger scent maybe, but it seems a little bit, yeah, a little bit stronger, I'd say, the fragrance. It's going on beautifully. At the moment, I'm finding it very hard to see any difference in the way they've gone on. The only difference I'm seeing so far is that the shade is more accurate for a cool tone. So let's build it up a little bit. So I'll take another quarter of a pump like I did with this side, to take it here where I've got a bit of sun damage, and it really does build up very nicely. Do you see there? And I've got this freckle here. See how it's covered that? Just that extra bit? It's nearly covered it anyway. Yeah, that's taking it to full coverage now. Exactly the same way. At the moment I like it as much, and I prefer it because of the shade match, but that's not a formula comparison here. At the moment, first impressions, and this is very early days, I haven't set it, I haven't tested it out during the day, but very first impression is it's as good as Shade and Illuminate. So if you're a fan of that formula and you're worried that you won't be able to get it anymore, you may have one half the price as good. So it's actually very good news. So I'm going to go in with my Morphe sponge to see if I need to remove any excess, but I have to be honest, I don't actually feel I need to, because this is sitting in a way, it is slightly tacky, but it certainly, I don't feel like I've got excess product. My skin has absorbed it. I normally feel I've got a bit of excess product I need to get rid of. I still do this just because I think it irons out any spots I might have not blended in properly and things, so it's just something I always do, but I normally have to do it rather than right now needing to. I don't need to, is what I'm saying. If you're somebody who doesn't like to powder down, you might find that this one works quite well for you. I mean, it's definitely a bit tacky. So there we are. We have Shade and Illuminate. And we have the new Architecture Radiance. And for me, I prefer this side because of the shade match. I'm trying to see now on screen, is there one that looks better? It's so hard to see if there's any difference, to be honest. I don't know if it is the colour that's making me prefer this, but I just prefer the way my skin looks generally on the new side. I think what I'll do now is I'll go in and put some cream contour blush concealer and I'll powder the T-zone, and then I'll come back on screen and show you how that looks. So then maybe we can make more of an informed decision. So this is how everything is looking with contour, blush and concealer, and I've set my T-zone, but I haven't set the outside of my face, which I won't do today. I will leave it completely unset. I mean, I never do normally, but I've got a headband on, so it's a good way for me to test it without getting too upset about slight tackiness. It's only very slight, but it's enough for my hair to stick to my face. I can show you really. And it's enough to irritate me, so I would need to fully set down to get rid of that. But I've just looked in my magnification mirror though, and this is something that's happened to me with so many Tom Ford foundations, and I've done everything I can to prevent it from happening, but I've got the caking issue all down the nose after adding a bit of concealer down the centre of the nose. So what I'm going to do now is I did use a concealer that's new to me, so I'm going to take it off, redo my nose, put a different concealer on and come back and let you know if that's improved it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it if I get it really close. It's often very hard to get across on camera, but certainly underneath the magnification mirror it's very cakey along this bridge of the nose. So anyway, I'll do that. I'm actually testing out the new RMS concealer, which so far has worked with everything I've tried it with, so I'm thinking this could be an issue with the foundation. But I will go in with the Tarte Stick Concealer, which has been my go-to for, well, since it launched, and it's worked with everything. So if it argues with that, then I don't know. It's the foundation. So I'll see you when I've changed that. Well, it's good news. I've taken that off and my other concealer has worked absolutely fine. So this could be more to do with the concealer, which is why I need to probably test that out a bit more. When I did take the foundation off my nose, by the way, I only put the new Architecture Radiance back because it was too complicated to try and split my nose in half. So I've only got that on the nose, but everywhere else we have the divide of Shade and Illuminate and the new Architecture Radiance. Just before I go to do the rest of my makeup now, I'm going to do a transfer test. So if we check here, the Shade and Illuminate side, and you can see there's a little bit coming off there. I did say it's quite tacky, not a lot, but there's a little bit coming off. And now let's check the Architecture Radiance side. I'm putting it here where I know there's no concealer, no contour and no powder, and it's the same thing here. Definitely not transfer proof. It's not coming off incredibly, but it is slightly coming off, and it's been there for a good sort of 20 minutes, I'd say. Anyway, what I'll do now is go ahead and do the rest of my makeup and come and show you my final look, but the main thing we're really going to be looking for is that wear test at the end of the day. But anyway, I'll see you for my final look. So I've gone on and done the rest of my makeup, and here is how everything is looking. So here we have the Shade and Illuminate side. Just pausing it here because I've noticed that my pores are definitely quite visible around my nose area on the Shade and Illuminate side. And now when you see me showing you the Architecture Radiance side, you'll see there's actually quite a difference, which is definitely noteworthy here. Feeling less tacky now. I will redo the test. And then we have the Architecture Radiance, which looks more radiant to me. Probably the same level of tackiness, but I do feel there's a little bit more radiance on this side. But still, I would say neither of them are as radiant as the sort of glowy foundations we've been getting this year. So it's more of a subtle radiance, which is probably nicer in terms of not having to correct it, and use powders to make the shine come down and things. So I think it is a good level of glow, but it's not the sort of high level of glow. I'm a little bit concerned though about the concealer reacting with it, because this RMS one, which I haven't shown you, you may have seen my shorts reel on the RMS concealer. I've been testing it for about 5 days now, maybe a week. And every single thing I've used it with, it's worked fine with. And immediately when it met the Tom Ford foundation, they argued. And this is something I found with the Architecture, that it argued. And when I changed my primers, the arguing stopped a bit. And I noticed less issues. So I think the key thing here is for me to continue to test this new foundation with other concealers, and also to continue testing the RMS, because I haven't had that issue so far though. The RMS has gone on very nicely so far with everything. So I'm thinking this is more to do with the skincare ingredients in the Tom Ford foundation, which I think is a bit of an ongoing issue. So you may find it interacts with your skincare if you use certain things like vitamin C. I have found that since changing to the Dr. Sam Bunting, I'm showing you this, it's in a terrible mess. But anyway, I use this every day. The Dr. Sam Bunting vitamin C, nothing seems to react to it, so even the Tom Ford. But I do think you need to be careful with Tom Ford base products, what skincare you're using and what concealer you're using. And the problem at the moment is that so many of the new products that are coming out are very much skincare based. So the RMS concealer has got a lot of skincare benefits, just like the Tom Ford. But sometimes if those skincare ingredients clash with each other, that's where you're going to get the problem. So I haven't taken it out from under my eyes, but when I do look close up in the mirror, I do see it looking funny and a bit cakey around there. So when I do the check-in tonight, I will ignore that because I know that's to do with the RMS concealer. I think the best place to check will be the nose, where I took it off and I used my Tarte one, which didn't argue with it. So, I mean, this is a serum type base concealer as well. Must just be down to ingredients. But really with a product like this, when you're spending this much money, you don't want it arguing with products you've already got. So that could be an issue, and one that I can only look at over the month. So obviously today this is my very first impression, and I'm going to give you my wear test tonight. But I will test this out over the month, and I will try it with various different products to give you my final thoughts for my end of month review. So please do look out for that, because by then I will have given this a really, really thorough test with possibly different primers, but it went well with the primer, so I might not need to change that. But I will definitely test it with different products on top, different concealers. I used a matte cream blush, and then I used a cream blush. Both sat very well on top of it. I used a cream, what am I thinking of, contour, and that went very well with it. And my powder, which was the Fenty today, that went very well with it. So everything else has been fine. It was the very much skincare based concealer that it didn't like. So maybe it's just that, and maybe I will find that the RMS concealer will do that with other products, maybe. But so far, like I said, I haven't. So we shall see. But anyway, for now, I will leave you to decide for yourself which side do you prefer. And tonight we will look to see how each side has worn. So remember, this is the new side, this is the older side. I did say I would do another transfer check, which I will quickly do now, as soon as it's had even longer to dry down. Still going on the tissue there, look. Let's check this side. And again. Very hard to see. The new one is actually transferring a bit less as it's drying down, so that's good news. I've managed to get some of this new one on my top. I don't know if you can actually see that on camera, on my dress rather, my brand new dress. And it's there, can you see? And I've scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, I can't get it out. Do you have any tips for how to remove foundation? This is a brand new dress and I love it, and I don't want it to be ruined with a foundation stain. So if you have any tips, please let me know. Anyway, I will see you tonight for my check-in, and we'll see how both sides are looking, so I'll see you then. I'm here with a 10-hour check-in. It's been a very, very, very long day. And I'm afraid this is terrible news, because this looks horrendous. Every time I've looked in a mirror today, I've genuinely thought this is the worst I have looked. I think I look ill. My lights might make me look a bit brighter and more cheerful, but honestly, it is awful. I will actually zoom in. I'll zoom in as much as I can from here, and then when I edit now, I'll zoom in sections for you to see. But let's just say both sides are equally awful. There's no improvement. It is breaking up everywhere, including around the nose where I changed the concealer. It looks particularly terrible where the RMS concealer met the foundation, which I was sort of expecting, and I did say I would ignore that. But it looks terrible everywhere. It is caking, it is flaking, it is peeling, it is breaking up. It just looks hideous. This area here, can you see this? Can you see how bad this is? I mean, I think you can. I can see on my monitor. It just looks, it looks awful. And these are the problems I had before with Tom Ford. And my skincare routine is exactly the same as always. I've used the vitamin C that works with every single foundation in my collection. The only time I think I've got this upset about a foundation is when I tried the one from La Prairie, which had similar problems. But I think this is actually worse. I will test this out again. I'm not going to rule it out and say that's it, it's no good, because I don't have these issues with the architecture. I will try it with a sponge next. I will try it with different primers. I will try it with a Bobbi Brown face base, which is my better one for the winter. Today has been one of the hottest days of the whole year here, but we are still getting a heat wave for a good 10 days, so I'm not going to be able to test it in cooler conditions, but at the same time, why not test it in heat, because that's really throwing things at it. This might work for me better in the winter, which is what I think might happen with La Prairie. So it might just be a question of these products don't work for me this time of year, when I've got a more moisturised base. I will experiment with all of those things. So let's just say this is a fail for my first attempt. But what I would also say is I have just used my regular skincare, my top primer that works with everything. The skincare I've used doesn't argue with anything I've got. And I even took the concealer off my nose when it had the problem and it looked better, but it still doesn't look good on the nose. I mean, it's just, this is the new side, if you remember. It just is absolutely hideous. I mean, if I was going to give this a mark for the way this looks and the way it's looked throughout the day, because this started happening within 2 hours. So this isn't a 10-hour issue, this just got gradually worse. And every time I looked in a mirror, I just thought I look a bit almost ghost-like when I'm not here in the studio being lit up. I just look ill. I don't look good at all. And it's awful. Here is the original shades in Illuminate. So all I can say is they're both equally as bad as each other. I don't see any change in the formula. So if the original shades in Illuminate never gave you a single problem, you'll probably find that the new one doesn't, because they're behaving exactly the same way as far as I can tell, which is terrible for me. And I know a lot of people had problems with these. It's just, I have the same issue with the Tom Ford primer. That one always causes me problems. And I rarely get problems with foundations or primers. My skin is very happy. It doesn't tend to argue with things. My skincare doesn't argue with things. I don't understand what it is with Tom Ford, but this is just not working well. The architecture matte does work for me now, so who knows what's happening there. But I will not say that that's it. I might have a very, very different opinion. When I first tried architecture matte, I thought that was bad, so I may very well change my mind. But for now, this is an absolute 100% fail. And hopefully by the end of the month I can give you better news. But anyway, I would love to hear when you try this, if you try this, how you get on. But I would strongly advise you to get a sample from your nearest department store if you can, rather than investing to try this. And also, if it doesn't work, hopefully you've got enough to try it for a few days at least. Try it with different skincare. Maybe don't exclude your vitamin C, you shouldn't have to. Don't exclude your SPF, you shouldn't have to. You need those in your daily routine and you need to know they're going to work for you. But just try different ones. If you've got different vitamin C's in your collection, try different ones. Try different primers. Don't give up completely. That's what I'll be doing. But at the same time, when foundations cost this much money, we should not be trying this hard to make them work. They should work with everything. And that's how I felt with the La Prairie. It should just work with everything. And like my skin is not particularly tricky. If you follow me, I review most foundations and the vast majority work. I might say they have a bit of caking at the end of the day. But the glowy foundations, in fact, I've got a video coming up soon showing you all of the glowy foundations, and I've been doing them side by side. And every single one of them has looked fabulous. I haven't got a single problem with one of the foundations I'm going to be showing you. So when I do that video, spoiler alert, this is going to be the only problematic one unless I find a way to sort it. So what a shame. Anyway, that's all from me. I will hand you back to me signing off from this morning. So I'll see you there. So by now you will have seen my check-in and you will know my final thoughts on this foundation. And I really do hope that you have found this helpful, but please do remember to look out for my end of month review, because obviously today was my very first impression on everything. So I will be testing this out, as I've said, in various different ways. So look out for that and I will keep you updated. If in the meantime you want an update sooner than that, please do message me on Instagram on han.beauty101. I always reply to messages there. If you want an update and you don't want to wait for the end of month review, please message me there anytime and I can let you know how things are going. If there's been any changes, I'd be more than happy to do that, so please message if that's helpful. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it ever so much if you hit the like button and the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. But if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you all, and I really do hope to see all of you again for my next video. Take care everybody, bye.